Now, I know I'm a little late on this, but I would be remiss if I were not to join in on the coverage of the YouTube shooting. I know it's been covered a lot, and it's going to keep getting covered by at least people on the right to center media because of just how bizarre the situation was, and how lucky things didn't escalate into all out terror. But there's also something that I think a lot of people in the right to center media really noticed is that the mainstream left, the people who are always wanting this, gun control now type of proposals, who are always out there saying that we need more tougher gun laws and stuff like that in order to keep mass shootings from happening, are suddenly really silent on the whole YouTube shooting. Maybe I've covered it maybe an hour total, and not much was really said. Not much was really said by anybody. Now, I'm not going to say the shooter's name. I'm not, and the only thing I'm really going to say is what we know about her, since it was a woman at this point. There wasn't really much to note about this person other than the fact that she apparently had some pretty big animosities towards YouTube. And, in the whole YouTube conflict, with the whole thing going on with the monetization shit like that, about people getting their channels removed and stuff like that just for posting jokes or being or for promoting wrong thing and stuff like that. It's pretty. The situation at YouTube is pretty bad, and you can do an entire video on you. You can do an entire video about that. But there's something. But this whole situation to me is not particularly great in my eyes. The lady who did this, she did it because her channels were being removed, or her channels weren't being monetized and stuff like that. Just like I said, a big problem with YouTube right now. They just aren't doing stuff for the right things. But if you actually watch this lady's content, I'm not gonna say her names, and they've already taken down her stuff, so I'm not gonna provide a link or anything like that. But she wasn't doing particularly any good childish stuff, not childish stuff, but like stuff that's advertiser friendly and stuff like that, which is why a lot of videos get demonetized anyway. It just didn't literally look all that appeasing to anybody, so you can understand why a lot of people just don't think, why a lot of people at YouTube said, hey, we need to demonetize it. And what we know about the lady, she apparently was she was a Muslim, she was a vegan, she was a whole bunch of leftist buzzwords. So immediately one thing is flying in the face is that the shooter was a leftist, that she was a pretty extreme leftist at that. So you have that. And then she was also apparently this was very much in line with fact. She was very let's say mentally disturbed, kind of like the Parkland shooter. She was very not so keen on people messing with her. She apparently was threatening YouTube and stuff like that beforehand. Her parents said that she was getting really pissed at YouTube. And she was also sleeping in her car and stuff like that. And the authorities apparently, just like with the Parkland shooting, did nothing. All right, the police were notified. I think this went up to the FBI. Almost it went up to the FBI, but it didn't. It went up once again to the top levels of law enforcement, and they did nothing. Now, the good thing is that the damage was very minimal during the shooting. She only wounded three people at max. So I thought the fourth person was somebody else, but it was actually her. But she shot herself, and she killed herself, and shot three people. Luckily, she only shot them. She didn't actually kill anybody, which is, like I said, a freaking miracle. It's pretty crazy to see. It's pretty crazy to see somebody walk into YouTube headquarters with a gun and not kill a bunch of people like that, especially considering that YouTube headquarters is located in California, one of the most gun stringent places in the country. And two, with the whole slew of high profile gun shootings going on, a lot of people would be thinking, hey, that's actually pretty low. which is one thing that it may not get covered as much, is because it just wasn't very high. But the whole coverage of the shooting from the people on the left has been really, really unnaturally silent. You got nobody at now this calling for, I mean, apparently, if, I mean, a bunch of people are also gonna, a bunch of people are gonna blame this on the Republicans and the NRA and stuff like that, even though the shooter was none of those things. Shooter wasn't politically motivated. She was just pissed that her videos were getting demonetized. She wasn't even a right-wing person. So all of the, at least she wasn't even close to affiliated with the NRA, and it's very unclear how she was even able to get a gun in the first place, being in California. So, like I said, this whole situation is just really stingy in my eyes. It's really, just really out there, and you can come up with your own conspiracy theories and whatever. But the thing is that the leftist media probably covered this maybe an hour. I think they covered this just legitimately just an hour, and then, not an hour, at least for a day, and then said nothing else about it. Just said no, just no. And that's a pretty big problem, because these are the same people who are basically saying that they should be allowed to infringe on your constitutional rights to own a firearm, to defend yourself in your house or anywhere else like that. And this is also coming at the time I'm recording this. There was a dude who is apparently going to get put in prison for defending himself at his house from a dude that was trying to rob it, and he apparently stabbed him, and he's getting prosecuted by the British government for doing so, with the mayor saying that knives are not acceptable, and if you're caught one and you're trying to use it in self-defense, you're going to get busted for it. And that's what the left people want. They don't want you to do that type of stuff. They want to rely on the police, which are also racist bigots and stuff like that. So I mean, obviously, the big reason why they're not really covering this is the fact that this doesn't fit their agenda. Alright, they're still talking about Parkland. They're not talking about Sutherland Springs, a shooting that happened in my backyard. They're not talking about the slew of shootings that have been stopped by law-abiding gun owners. They're not talking about that at all. They're just still going to talk about Parkland. As they still are, as David Hogg is still being given a super huge platform, even though almost everything he says is devoid of factual evidence. And Gonzalez is still getting stuff like that. And Kyle Kashuv is still getting shellacked by people on the hardcore left for being a pro-gun Parkland survivor, which is pretty hypocritical, considering that Kyle Kashuv survived the shooting, and they're all the ones, and these are the same people who are calling for, Laura Ingraham to have her sponsors taken away from her just because she said that David Hogg was being whiny about college admissions. I mean, this is pretty astounding. It's pretty astounding to me. I think it's astounding to a lot of people on the hardcore, at least from the right to the center, at least. I mean, it's just really, really crazy. It's just, I mean, this is bad. This is really bad for the future of the country. If these type of things aren't actually being considered factual or not, these types of things, they're not actually trying to go out and find the facts. They're not actually going to report them right. Alright? They're not even really outright there saying her name like they would do with all the other mass shooters in Aurora and Sandy Hook. They're not doing that. They're basically keeping this covered up because this isn't fitting in their narrative. That's really the whole thing. And so whenever you hear the hardcore left really talking about guns, gun ownership, just know that A, they don't know a damn thing about what they're talking about, and 2, they are never, ever trying to be truthful, except in cases where they're actually trying to do like what Senator Marco Rubio is trying to do with this other senator from Florida, is trying to make the law to where if the parents or a family member goes to a judge and asks that judge to take away your guns if you're are deemed mentally unstable, I am for that. That's the type of congregation and coming together that I would like to see. But we're not going to see that, for at least from many on the left, because they want their policy. They don't want a middle ground. They want what they want, and if you don't like it, you're a child-hating, murdering bigot. And that's it. And that's honestly how it's going to be until something changes. Like always, as I say, and it's probably not going to change. And that's the sad thing. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will try to... I know I'm kind of late with the way... I know the way I've been making a bunch of my videos lately. I've been coming kind of late on a lot of things. But, yeah, I'm just trying to keep myself going. So, anyway, thank you guys for the support. You guys have a good night. Don't die.